Batman's log. Captain Batman's log. This is me showing off literally every single extortion file / audio file in the game, plus some bonus content.
Yeah. You know what? I really should have dedicated, like in Asylum and City, really should have dedicated a part to listening to all those interview tapes, shouldn't I have?
Probably.
I mean, is there really much to really gain from some of these?
Well,
I mean, there's a couple Easter eggs here and there. I mean, as you see here, apparently even like some side characters, like that one Falcone dude that the Penguin was interrogating, even he apparently had appointments with Harleen. Which, unfortunately, the more we learn about this, the more we, unfortunately, kind of paint the picture that I don't think Harleen was the most qualified for her position.
Not really.
I.e. stupid.
Well, not stupid, just very shady.
If not just willfully ignorant in the sense of, like, she just didn't do her job. And then of course, we see Black Mask extorting Falcone because they're just two rival families at the end of the day. We're probably gonna, like, honestly, if now is as good a time as any to start bringing up some new silly things today in the world of Batman. What is that, Lucky? Well, I'm glad somebody asked.
Sorry,
the silly thing that I was going to bring up was that we're getting some new shows in the wonderful DC universe. One of which being that one Bat Vehicle show, which I did decide to watch the trailer for because my cousin was watching it.
Bat Wheels.
Cousin, I should say. Bat Wheels, thank you.
So basically, they're just making cars with the Batmobile.
It has like the same vibe as like Paw Patrol or like freaking. Not Bob the Builder, even though that did have talking vehicles in it. I know there's another one though, where like they're like talking like emergency vehicles though, but like a fire truck and an ambulance. I think that was just Paw Patrol. Regardless, they're trying to appeal to the younger demographic with all of the vehicles that Batman owned, including at least half of which I don't think he ever used.
I mean, I'll give him credit that, like, when it comes to, like, trying to think of various ways to branch out from the Bat brand, I never would have thought of making one dedicated to just the vehicles.
Just the vehicles, like, I honestly have, especially with that movie, especially because, like, yeah, we can talk about that as well, like, especially with the new Super Pets movie thing coming out. I was surprised they weren't thinking of trying to reboot Crypto or something.
I mean, isn't that effectively what they're doing?
Well, I mean, like, in the form of a show. Not like, I mean, we have the movie, so I'm surprised they didn't decide to, like, try and capitalize and just go full hog and make a TV show out of it.
Well, I mean...
Unless they're worried about the whole, you know, now that we use crypto to mean something completely different nowadays, they were worried about some sort of, like,
the only
confusion.
thing my thing is that they're probably using the movie to gauge if people would be interested in a new crypto show.
That's fair. Doubt they'll be able to get Dwayne The Rock Johnson back, though.
Actually, it's funny, because now that you think about it, that's like two DC things that Dwayne's going to be working on. Like that, and he's going to be Black Adam.
I forgot about Black Adam, yeah.
Yeah, that was another trailer that they showed at the DC Fandom this year.
What is Black Adam?
Black Adam is basically a Captain Marvel villain. Billy Batson is who I mean by Captain Marvel. And basically, imagine the same shtick of him being chosen by the Wizard. In fact, he actually was the Wizard's chosen one before Billy was. However, Black Adam was a lot more tyrannical with his powers than Billy was.
So it's a villain story then.
He's usually a villain. I want to say they're keeping that with the movie. It's going to be interesting the way that they're setting it up, because they're also introducing like a lot of like big name like DC heroes into it as well, like Hawkman and Dr. Fate and whatnot.
Huh. Well, I'll keep an eye on that. I'm glad. I mean, it's cool to see Dwayne, you know, breaking into the superhero genre somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what else. And then we did, and I know from that DC Fandom thing, we did also get another like an actual like official like full on look at the Batman with Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I'm still in the process of, I'm sure it'll be a perfectly well-made film, but I still don't know if it's something I personally would get into.
Oh, hang on. I'll give it for a little time drop. Da-da-da. So there it's like led up to the fact that it looks like it was Ra's al Ghul's plan to create Arkham Asylum in the first place.
Yeah, that is like the one bit of like not rewriting, like
Retcon?
retcon. That's it. I don't know why I was blanking on the name, but it's like
They're
I
fine.
think that is like one of the few retcons this game does that I know a lot of people are really uppity with, considering how you have like the entire like Chronicles of Arkham in the first game, and
Right,
only
all the
for
lore and
Origins
stuff
to
in
kind
it.
of retcon that.
And then, yeah, no, here it's like they're trying to like set it all up to make it seem like everything since City, everything since the beginning was all connected, and something like that. I think what else we had then. The Batman trailer. The only thing I know about the movie going into is that apparently it's going to be a long one, like a 3-hour long. They want to
it's
try and
like-
make a big detective noir film.
Yeah, it's a long one. Last I checked, they're putting in a lot of villains in it. I don't know if that changed during development, but I do know that they are going to be adding in like a handful of like big name villains. Like apparently the Riddler is going to be the main villain,
Good.
as well as having
That'll be
like
neat.
Penguin and Catwoman.
Okay. Well, that'll be neat to see them like try and pull off like some sort of twist to see if they'll like be able to like, because Riddler I've always felt like was usually very charismatic. He's usually not been like in the sense of like Riddler always to me had the vibe of like he's so cocky and so confident that his riddles can't be solved that he will sometimes just be out in the open saying them, knowing that they can't say kill him, because if they kill him then they'll never understand, because he thinks that without his knowledge they would never be able to solve the riddle. Or basically the trailers make it seem like that the Riddler's going to be this dude ruling from the shadows, or doing something like completely like or like doing something like very subtle, or
Yeah, they're going for a much more like... The way I can think about it is... I'm sure this probably isn't a completely fair comparison. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. It feels like they're kind of Heath Ledgerizing the Riddler in this, in a sense of like they're taking away like the more grandiose comic booky aspects of Riddler to an attempt to make it more grounded and gritty.
yeah.
So, what, basically turned into freaking, what's his name? Not Puzzle Face.
Jigsaw?
Yeah, Jigsaw, thank you.
Actually, I did hear some. I do recall seeing at least either in a news report or like some producer comment that they were looking at Jigsaw as a sort of inspiration for Riddler.
Oh, jeez.
Which, I mean, we're gonna see what happens. It also looks like also going off of the trailer. The relationship between Batman and Catwoman is is definitely a serious plot point they cover as well.
Which I won't be up against. Like, I'm usually into Bruce and Selina's dynamic. In fact, like, one of my favorite Batman stories of all time pretty much focuses a good chunk of it on Bruce and Selina's dynamic.
Fair. Let's see what else. We already mentioned the Batman. We already mentioned that. Andy Serkis's Alfred, was it?
Yes.
That'll be fun. That was that'd be interesting to see pulled off. That actually, I was thinking about the other day, and I realized now that like, I think I was like I knew I wanted to bring it up, was that because we had that whole confrontation in the last part, and just I do still appreciate this game and any story that really tries to tackle the. I wish there was another word I could think of that wasn't relationship, because you know what I mean when I say relationship.
Dynamic?
I'm not meaning anything. Maybe, but the like the connection I guess between like Bruce and Alfred. I like that, because I remember growing up, at least, or maybe it was like just because it was so underutilized and other things, but I dislike it when certain Batman media portray Alfred as being nothing more than the right away, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, I'll have the car pulled around lickety split.
I mean,
And nothing else beyond that.
Alfred's the kind of guy that will literally draw him a bath for April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like... Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, like, whenever... Like, it really kind of depends on, like, how much of a focus they want Alfred in on something. Like, for example, if they just want him to be, like, a cameo in, like, a Justice League movie, there's really not much they could do with that.
No, I get it. But I mean the sense of, like, if they have... So I guess it's, like, if they have repeated scenes where that's it, and, like, that's the only characterization being present, then I guess I'm a bit bugged by that, because that's why I'll say that's why I like this, or I guess the Nolan films also to an extent did that, where they did explore the fact that Alfred has basically been a father figure to Bruce for the majority of his life. Now.
Even the animated series had a pretty good balance with that. Like
Yeah,
again,
the
I bring,
animates.
like I bring up the whole April Fool's joke, but I also still remember like that one episode that I think that was the introduction to a Poison Ivy, or it was a Poison Ivy episode. I remember that much where apparently Bruce got an invitation to this whole spa thing, and he out of the goodness of his heart, he let Alfred take his place instead.
Oh yeah, and I think it was that, and I believe there was and I know there was one bit in The Batman, I want to say, the show, not the movie, where like they almost had like, or maybe it's Beware the Batman. Either way, there was one. I remember there was another episode where
was it CG animated?
No, 2D animated.
Okay, then it's The Batman.
Where the Batman, thank you. Well, because I do also remember one where like everyone thought that they had Batman dead to rights. Like, how could they how could Bruce not be the Batman? And then it turns out Alfred dressed up as Batman just to pose on the roof for like 2 seconds, just to be like, wait, they're both in the same area at the same time. And then Alfred's like, please don't make me climb the roof again, sir. I can't. Like, the ladders just aren't what they used to be. Anyway, and the Nolan stuff, despite what Matt did point out that one time, where it's like there's a bit of a conflict between Alfred's motivation, the second one and the third one. Like,
I thought I was the one to point that out.
Was it you who said like, oh, you have to endure versus?
Right.
That must have been you. Okay, my apologies. So then that would be that. Like, beyond that, the only bit of that whole thing I disliked was the part where Bruce lied to his father figure, faked his death, and set everything up and did all of this just so that he could shag Catwoman and call it a day.
Honestly, if you want another good example that is surprisingly consistent considering what happens between the first two movies and the second two movies, the Burton Schumacher films, I honestly think, have a pretty consistent handle on Alfred's relationship with Bruce that I think holds up pretty well. A lot of it having to do with just how great of an actor Michael Gough is.
Which, I don't know, I brought this up before. It still amazes me he was one of the few actors that actually stuck around for both the Burton and Schumacher films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, like, I'm trying to think, like, because I don't recall, I'll be honest and admit that the most I recall was, I don't remember him having too much, screen time in Batman and Robin, mainly because he was sick for most of it.
Well, I would say that is that, but that sickness still does play a major part in the story, because, now there's, like, 2 reasons for finding the cure for that disease, both for him and for Frieza's wife.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still find it kind of weird that for that universe, they retcon Barbara to be his niece, as opposed to being Jim Gordon's daughter.
Yeah.
Which is actually funny, because, again, like I brought up before, Jim Gordon barely played much of a role in those movies.
Yeah, like
no,
the most.
I do not remember. My first exposure to Gordon was with the Nolan films, honestly.
Animated
Which
series
is
for me.
fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd say both those are perfectly fine adaptations. Actually, if I want to rewind back a bit to talk a little bit more about DC fandom, like among some of the other things that they were showing off. Actually, also tying back to TV shows as well. I know they showed off a work in progress reel, because it wasn't fully animated yet, but a work in progress reel of the 3rd Harley Quinn season.
Oh,
that's right. They are still continuing that show.
I think. Well, I mean, they dropped a pretty big bombshell at the finale of the last season. We can talk about it. It's been a while.
I will
By the time this
say,
goes up,
from what I've seen, sorry,
go ahead.
From what I've seen, it looks like they are continuing it. I've been told that it's following very similarly to the comic that was released after season 2. That was meant to be a continuation of season 2.
Oh, really? I didn't know they pulled a. I sound like such a goddamn nerd, which is if I don't already, but I didn't know they had pulled a freaking panty and stocking sort of situation where they didn't think they were going to get a new show, and so they tried to continue it that way.
I'm assuming that's the case. I'm not entirely
I could
sure.
have just said Avatar, and it would have been a less embarrassing example to pull up. Damn. Anyway, but okay, that's gonna be. I guess we'll have to see if it's gonna be a direct adaptation or if they will try to branch out without making it seem like they're recycling it. But I know. But yeah, the only thing I do recall now is that at the end of the season 2, they did finally, have them hook up, and and have more of a. I forget if it was it ever explicitly stated that they were a couple in the Bruce Timm series, or was it just
not
always
really?
implied?
It's funny because the Bruce Timm series technically planted the seeds for that, but within the show itself, they never really had any particular or from what I can tell, intended romantic interests. At most, they were just kind of sisters.
Okay, that's fair. But yeah, beyond that. So sorry that.
Place your bets, everyone. How, what am I trying to say here? Which of what we just talked about is actually going to be released before this park actually comes up?
I'm actually very curious to learn. Also, say thank you for joining us for our DC Fandom kind of podcast we just did overall this dialogue. Again, it's a lot of it's superfluous. Some of it's fun. Stuff like I think in the second one is kind of interesting because then if you get this audio file, you can hear Joker trying to rehearse back when he was supposed to be pretending to be Black Mask the whole time.
Yeah, that's right. Where one of the mooks refers to him by Black Mask and goes huh? Oh yeah,
right,
right here.
That's me. And then we'll just keep going as if nothing ever happened, right? Right? Yeah, I like this guy. Anyway.
I like the cut of his jib.
I like the cut of this dude's jib. Anywho, so, yeah.
Sir, you realize you're cutting that other guy's jib, right?
I'm hungry.
Go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
It's the giblets. They go perfect with the carrots. I've told you about this. Anyway, it's Thanksgiving. Anywho, no, it's Christmas, sir. Damn it. Anyway, my stream of consciousness brain aside, we're not going to don't worry, we're never going to do this again. I'm probably not going to do this for Night, because I don't even know if there are audio logs in Night.
I think they are, but I don't remember a lot of them.
But don't worry, I sure have learned my lesson. So
my bat nipples were starting to freeze up there.
For everybody who just stuck with us, just rambling for the last 16 minutes, you are a gem amongst people.
So yeah, now
gosh,
I'm going.
Dang it!
Oh boy. You know what? Now I'm going back and forth on whether or not I should feel bad for not including that stuff in Asylum and City, or if people are thanking me for not including that stuff in Asylum and City.
I mean, okay, I'll be real and say if we had more people, that probably would have worked out better in the long run. But as it stands, it is just the three of us mooks for today.
Yeah, mooks.
Schmucks, anywho.
Yeah, no, everyone else more or less, they got their own plans, and we're just. This is honestly kind of an off day for some of us, even though we did have plans that are unfortunately going to have to be put on the back burner again.
We'll hopefully get to those over the weekend. I'm catching up with Dax, seeing what he's up to. But I mean, it'll get done. If not, we definitely will get something done this weekend, I bet. But anyway, so now what I'm going to be doing is to remind everybody and what's been going down. We're heading back to the police department. To head to their morgue.
I'm sorry, real quick. I would have loved if that was like a little Easter egg right there, where if you land a specific way while gliding, Batman might just ends up tumbling.
I was thought it was gonna be sliding.
Nobody saw that.
Sliding on his stomach like a penguin,
Did they see that?
Or if you aim straight into a wall, just sticking straight out of the wall. Anyway, now this is why we have the glue grenade. Now we can head into this area that the vent was. Previously, I have to unlock it. Unlock this ladder.
Sir, that is not how you climb a ladder.
Mortality.
Try.
Mortality. That wasn't it? Is it really Dead House?
Yes.
Wow, I thought they were going to be tactful about it. Anyway, we're going up here to learn about who's the prisoner who probably died with venom. That ain't Bane.
It's not Bane.
Damn.
One of his men. Same one I saw.
Man, it's just Charlie.
Yeah,
this is just a stunt double.
Yeah, I think it's the same one that was in the riot when we were at the police station.
Oh, so it was. But good news is that if we can check basically what he's going to do is we can perhaps scan the venom that's still in his body and hopefully use that to scan and find out where and source where the venom came from.
It came from Harville.
Harville.
Hardy.
No, I know you said Marvel, but regardless. So, I think we talked about this. Wow. It works really
Jesus.
fast.
Here's that whatever
That'll
this
be what it
compound
does.
is,
I think we talked about this, but
the
DC and Marvel have attempted crossover events in the past, right?
Oh yeah, plenty. In fact, that's like one. There's one in particular that's really famous for not only being like a big deal at the time, but also birthing like a short-lived amalgam universe.
If only the television / film rights weren't so messy.
Yeah.
We could have had a Who Framed Roger Rabbit for comic characters.
I would have watched it. The closest we've ever gotten to is occasionally, because I forget if they were ever on the same network. I think there were maybe 1 or 2 WB Kids or Cartoon Network like advertisement things.
Actually, you know what? I just realized, unless there was an update that changed things, there actually is a game that has both Marvel and DC characters coexisting in it, and it's Devil Damn Fortnite.
Because of course.
Yeah, plus John Wick, plus Dune, plus Star Wars, plus like it, and I think
Plus
somebody
Kratos,
else,
plus Master Chief.
Master Chief. I want to say someone outright has. I want to say someone has outright made a graph that I despise. Oh, there's a case file, and we got our next side quest, which is Bird, who I think is one of Bane's men.
Yeah.
I don't recall Bird in like the actual stuff. And here's our hit and run.
I don't think he's like any particular. I think he's just a mook meat for the game.
Okay. Sorry. Let's learn about who was the hit and run suspect. Nate Ramo. He was a SWAT officer. But anyway, what was I say? Is somebody made a graph or a visual graphic that I don't like, where basically they outright showed how you can take you can take literally any one of your most favorite franchises, and you'll somehow get back to Fortnite.
Yeah, somehow tie it back to Fortnite, because next to Smash Brothers, Fortnite probably has the most variety of freaking characters. Even though at the end of the day, aren't they all just skins?
They're all just skins. Like, well, there was a couple. Whoa. There were a couple game changers. Like, I think you could play at, like, if you played as Thanos, like, he actually had certain powers that only Thanos could use, like super jumping and super armor and stuff. But those usually event specific. Like, you can't use those in normal gameplay.
Gotcha.
And I'll admit I never really was. I tried Fortnite, but I could never really last long in the end game because I could not, for the life of me, like, build things like as fast as I could. And it is, again, one of those really funny things where if you look into the lore, if you look into the background, that was supposed to be the optional mode. They actually had a PvE mode that had the smaller team until they realized how many people were playing that other mode, and then they really just sucked every other resource out of that company.
Yeah, like, apparently the main mode that they planned for Fortnite was just so uninteresting compared to the PvP stuff. They just shifted focus, like, immediately.
It was just zombie. You didn't see me. That's cheap. Basically, what we just learned was it was an inside job. The SWAT officer was about to blow the whistle on his team being corrupt, and so they arranged a hit and run to silence him.
No witnesses.
That's old Gotham PD for you, which fortunately got changed which I want to say got fixed after this, in the sense of, like, I don't think it's ever been this bad in the Batman universe since.
Not really, because, that's when Gordon has more of a say on things.
Right, and if people don't like what Gordon says, they get the answer to the Batman.
Bunt.
With a fist.
The hammer of justice is coming for you.
Poor Batman, he can't lift this dude because of all the armor, so he has to do this. Oh no.
Sir, I can barely breathe in this mask as it is. Would you please get your hands off my neck?
It's too hot.
Murder means life. With all the evidence I've collected, it won't take long.
Right, dude, we got everything on you. Confession and...
Not on my watch.
You can find it there. My watch is right here.
Man, just imagine if he actually had a literal bat watch.
Never leave home without it. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this odd energy episode. Promise you, action is along the way. Stay tuned.
I thought it went fine.
Somebody get me some bat snacks.